Okay, well, first of all, it's almost good morning or good afternoon. It's 11:52. What am I
Let's
supposed to say?
say good afternoon.
Good
Okay,
day.
here we go. Okay, well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this interview. We're gonna give a special thanks, first of all, to our sales representative, Lauren Serrano, to join for us and be willing to help us out. This is a marketing debate we'll be having on just the leadership position, actually, and how it's all about, how it works, and just to have a better understanding on things as how to approach our customers and how to pretty much sell a product the most efficient way. We would like to maybe start off with asking Mr. Rano if he would be willing to maybe introduce himself a little bit, and then we will continue to the questions we have prepared for him. We'll start off with Joseph after him. Is that okay?
Okay.
Cool. Lawrence, could you?
Hello, I'm Laurens Renault. I work at the company of the railways in Belgium, NMBS. I work as a team leader at the desks in Brussels Airport Zaventem, Brussels Midi Station International, so be Europe, and Brussels North Station. Mainly my job is to supervise the others at the desk and check that everything is going okay. I do work on the vending machines, the money machines to get the money from. So that's mainly my job.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Rano, I would actually like to ask you my first question, and it's basically in marketing communication for you, which is the most important major mode. So, which one of advertising, like promotion, events, PR, publicity, which one do you use the most?
Um, so we will, or I will actually go for two, if that's okay. So first one, we're putting a lot of attention on everything which is internet. So to modernize our company or the marketing in our company, we do a lot of things with the internet. For example, we did a Go Unlimited. We took popular Instagrammers from Belgium to promote that. Um, as well as we do a lot of advertising mouth to mouth because we're the biggest traveling company or the biggest national traveling company from the country. Mouth to mouth is still a really important advertising for us.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
You're
Uh,
welcome.
okay. So first of all, Mr. Anwar, John, I want to thank you for giving us your time for this interview. So my first question will be, what techniques do you use to measure the quality of your work? If you can answer me that, please.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
So we use different techniques to measure it. So, for example, we're using for our employees the Gulda, which is in Dutch. So in Dutch, it's
Mm-hmm.
translated: Goedemorgen, oogcontact, oplossing zoeken, lachen, dank u en afscheid nemen, which is wishing your customer good day. So always be polite
Mm-hmm.
to your customer. Eye contact, finding the solution, smile, thank
Mm-hmm.
you, and wishing the customer goodbye. So that's actually a measuring technique we use to have a general or a general vending technique for the employees. So we measure it up by looking um, how the employee follows this up. So we're standing next to them for about 30 minutes to check if they follow it.
Uh,
To have an yeah, um, because we're still since we're the general company or the most used company to travel national,
mm-hmm.
we do want to have a positive image as well on the society or on
Yeah,
the
sure.
community. So that's why we start at the desk where we still have people helping the customers.
Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I wanted to ask you something actually about it.
Yeah.
Sorry. it's a follow-up question on what you said about how using a technique called Gulda. Have you had ever an immediate feedback from a client on maybe that technique being applied, or?
Not immediately, but you do see if you use this technique, you will have less conflicts at the desk. Like, it is still a technique which could be seen a bit as robotic or made, but the thing about it is it's just a starting point. So once you have that technique completely controlled, you can use it in your own way. And that's what we're trying to achieve, that the people can use it in their own way, that they do use these components within the conversation with the client, but their own personal style, so that it makes it less made, but more, yeah, in a way, the client won't see that they have to do it between the lines.
Okay, thank you. A question I have for you is eventually, which marketing communication tool have you seen be most successful for your company?
Same thing as we talked about earlier. So internet, by using the popular Instagrammers within Belgium, and the mouth to mouth. So mouth to mouth, we have seen an evolution that goes international. For example, the Go Unlimited, like a lot of Spanish or international students do ask us about it whenever they arrive in Belgium. You do see it a lot at the airport or in Brussels Central Station, for example, or Brussels Midi Station, so the big stations in Belgium. They already know about it before actually we are advertising it to them. So that's one of the biggest, or the ones I've seen that are the most, or are the popularst.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, may I ask something else as a follow-up
Certainly.
question? This is Go Unlimited, what it actually is. I mean, for the persons, for the people,
Yeah.
you know.
Certainly, that's a good question. The Goni Method is a kind of promotion we're doing only during the holidays. So, for example, the 2 weeks Easter holiday, the 2 months of the summer holiday in Belgium, as well as the Christmas holiday, and a bit of smaller holidays as well. It's a week, or during the summer holidays, a month where youth can travel at a certain price within the whole of Belgium. I'm just thinking about the price right now because we haven't used it since the summer holiday. If I'm not mistaken, it's about 15 euros for a week and 25 euros for a month traveling within Belgium. And that's it. So that's, you pay it 25 euros for a month and you travel anywhere by train in Belgium.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's for people under 26 years old. So yeah, you're all under 26. So for those who don't know it, go for it. You can travel around Belgium as much as you would like. So
Yeah, I think I'll try that one for the summer. Okay, Gifford.
All right. Yeah. So like my question probably really generic, but like how do you keep up to date with your target market? Like I heard you before talking about you use the internet a lot. Do you like keep track of your target market, or is just like you keep it really like generic?
yeah, certainly. We do see it. They're doing it by graphics and numbers and percentages. So we get them. We get to see them as well. So they check, for example, what is the augmentation of the sales within the internet against the one of the desk. So they're all being compared as well. So we do have a view of it with numbers and then graphics. So they're keeping it up to date.
Okay.
Okay. So I just have another question. Is basically like really related with what you're talking about. So in this case, do you prefer like personal channels or mass communication?
Definitely personal channels.
Sure.
As you see lately, personal channels are really coming up and used more than mass communication. Um, in my opinion, personal channels, uh, you go much more on the client itself, which, yeah, the client feels like you're talking to him. Um, and yeah, for me, the personal channels. So, for example, let's say like this because I'm losing my words. We have a customer client deal or a customer day, which invites the customer to our company, to the offices, and they talk with the customer about how improving the company. So, which is actually a part of the personal channel, because in the meantime, you're actually advertising your company to the customer that's there, and you're asking his aid to improve the company. Same thing as you see, for example, on YouTube. So whenever you look, when the Go Unlimited is there, I don't get the commercial anymore. But when I was below 26, I got the commercial on YouTube for the Go Unlimited, for example. So you immediately know what's about, and it's speaking to a certain group of individuals, which is, in my opinion, also important, especially for the youth who don't know a lot about the train. So you're inviting them to your company as a personal group, which is a strong advertising, in my opinion.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so my turn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
sure.
so my second question for you is, what steps do you take to ensure the desired quality is achieved? Um,
Yeah, so actually, same thing. I talked to you about the side by side where we do follow our
uh,
employee for about 30 minutes to check if they follow the lines of the Gulda, for example.
mhm.
What do we use as well is mystery clients. Like the mystery clients do know what the Gulda is, for example, so they're gonna follow it up. They come to the desk, they check if they've got the right information, if they got their good day, if they got their smile, as well as so we do use as steps as well as survey on the people.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, some clients are asked afterwards, like, what was your opinion on your visit to the desk, your train travel, etc. So
Yeah, that
Um,
was pretty clear. Cool.
mm,
if I
How about
may
you, Kevin?
ask, follow-up question on this one. With the mystery shoppers in that case specifically, do you always get the necessary feedback that you are looking for? Well, I'm not sure if you actually might know about it.
we personally don't get the feedback, but the mystery shoppers are really, they've got certain points of attention, and they're gonna speak about those certain points of attention and not the rest.
Yeah.
So you're getting the feedback of the points you want the feedback on, but not the rest.
So those points of feedback are specifically, how can I say this? Like pointed out to your, let's say in this case, you said you work in Brussels airport, or different stations. Those that feedback is specifically to that station.
Yeah, yeah, specifically to that station. So they're gonna look around the station as well. Did they had a long waiting time, for example? How were they? Was there somebody coming to them? So was there someone being proactive and moving their way up to the client, or did they wait it off for the client to come to them, for example?
Okay.
So things like that.
Okay, that's very good to know. Thank you. Question of mine. Talking a little bit about the personal approach, if you prefer mass communication or personal approach, how do you make sure it's applying it more to the station where you work? How do you make sure it's relevant to them what you're gonna share with them, or when they get in touch with the product?
Yeah, we do our we do keep track on it. The thing is, we are also one of the only big traveling companies within Belgium. Like, you cannot, or you can take a bus, for example. Let's say you're going from Liège to Bruges. It's a big distance. So you've got the train. You can go by other public transport as well. But for example, take a bus. You're going to have to change a lot of times. It will consume a lot of your time. Um, we do keep it relevant by shortening the travel time. You can take it in one go. So for example, from Liège to Bruges, you can go in one go. If you're a student, you could use up your time to study in the train, for example, because you don't need to change. You just sit down and you can stay at the same place for the hour and a half or 2 hours you're traveling. Um, Same thing as we do a lot, especially the subscriptions do a lot as well. So for students, they've got, for example, or a school subscription or a campus. A campus is where you got a 10 travel card you have to use within the 49 days, which is less expensive. And it does, we do see it sells a lot. So a lot of students are using it. So we keep it relevant by using those advertisings or those subscriptions.
Okay.
If that's an okay answer.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, I guess for what I got out of it, what I understood, correct me if I'm wrong, it makes it more efficient for people.
Yeah.
So I consider it to be a good answer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So my question is, like, what's your least favorite part of the sale process, or just your job in common, if you want to share it?
Yeah. Can you just repeat that question because
Yeah,
you lagged out?
Yeah,
So
could be
heard
lagging. I can be
1%
lagging.
of the question.
So, what's your least favorite part of the sales process? I'm still lagging, right?
No, that's okay. No, I was thinking about it because
Okay.
it's a hard question.
Okay.
They're putting a lot of attention on everything which is digital. So which means we've got in our stations, you've got the machines, you've got the sales on the internet and everything, which leaves actually the people or the employees at the desk a bit behind. Which means that not treat, because there are for me an important part of the advertising and the sales as well, because they can it's different for clients to approach a person or a machine. We would like to have the machines up to get less of stress on work, so which means that the people at the desk do have the time to do bigger things. So not the normal tickets, we try to get them on the machines and on the internet because it doesn't take up much time. You don't need to give the clients a lot of information about that. But if you have, for example, a subscription and everything, you need to have the time and international to help the people at the desk to give them the 100% information they need about that. So for the needs of the clients as well. Now, what we're feeling is that a lot of attention is put on everything which is digital, which is a good thing, which relieves the stress of the work at the desk so they can concentrate on the bigger things. But the other way around is that since they're putting a lot of time in everything which is digital, it leaves a bit of the material at the desk behind, which means that they do have older material to work with, which causes bugs, which causes, for example, machines to fall out and things like that, which puts up a lot of stress at work as well. So that's one of the biggest flaws or the biggest negative sides I see on it.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, okay, that's nice to hear.
Okay, my next question is basically like part of what we all talked already. I mean, since my last question to this one,
Okay.
like really related. So I think this is a good question. So, how do you measure the results of the major mode communications you use? So you said, okay, we use a lot like personal channel, also like the internet. but how do you measure them? I mean, you said also like we use feedback, but at the end, how do you collect everything and you say, okay, we'll keep on track with this option rather than this one, or we have to implement another thing, or how do you do that?
Whew, I think that's more for the part of really the people being inside of the marketing, because that's a totally different branch from where we're working. But how do we? Do you mean how? Yeah, how do we measure the results within the company, right?
Yeah. So I mean, let me ask it in another
They're
way.
actually keeping track. You see, you do it for every station separately. And they're keeping track of it. So the marketing side of collecting all those results together and making actually big numbers and graphics on that. So they measure it by measuring the little ones and putting them all together. So that's how or what I think, because we do get the numbers and the graphics, we get to see them. So they're also going, for example, going to look on what were, and that's the most important thing that we don't do at the desk, is that they go and look, for example, on Twitter. They go and check on Twitter, for example, like were there negative comments, were there positive comments on the NMBS. They go look in papers. They look on the internet. So they do keep track of it in the social media.
Okay.
As well as we've got a customer's service for after sales, for example, for complaints. So they're checking which station, for example, got the complaints. Which station got no complaints in a month, got one complaint. Are they keeping the stations open? Are the stations closed, for example? So they're keeping track of everything.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. So it's basically, I mean, all the customers' feedback, you use it to give a better service. I mean, at least in the customers.
Yeah, certainly. That's what they're doing. So they're asking, and that's a really good addition you have there. Is we're working on that, because to be honest, in the past we didn't have the best reputation with our company, which they started working on a whole lot to get that back up. So from mouth to mouth. So we're using actually every channel to get our reputation again on the go, and a whole lot better.
Okay.
So yeah, we're listening to the needs of the people. That's why they have the customer days as well, for example. Yes.
It's not much of a question, and I'm not sure actually if this is the point of this interview. I just want to share a quick experience I had actually with that. There was a struggle with the airport specifically, where I immediately, out of frustration, actually took contact with NMBS through Messenger app. And to my surprise, they actually answered immediately, saying like, you know, we'll do our best. And for the next time a similar promotion happened, the problem I addressed was solved. So I have noticed indeed that they really are trying to interact with the customers and try to do their best to really, you know, fix those mistakes or points we look at and they might not look at some point. So yeah, just that.
And that's one of the frustrations at work as well, is that as supervisor, you do see those things. But to be honest, the people are at the desk, so the employees, they are so busy doing the work, and the stewards, for example, they are so busy doing their work that they're not seeing through the lines or beyond the lines, for example. We do see that. We try to make that clear, but that's not always easy. So we're working on that to give them a positive feedback as well, to try to keep them informed, to try to get there on our side. It's a bit weird to say, but they do have another look on what the company is doing than we do. So that's one of the frustrations as well we're working on.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. I mean, I actually think that's pretty good customer service. because you are attending to the problems, you are getting feedback all the time. So it's like, okay, what can we do better for you?
Yep. Said?
Is it my turn? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot. Okay, so my third question for you is, if you can give me an example of a time when you overcame one of your limitations and resolve a problem.
Yeah, sure.
Please.
That's a pretty interesting question. So I've one of my limitations actually, I've not been a supervisor for a for a whole time. Like a couple of months ago, begin January, they asked me to do it. So one of my biggest struggles with this is actually going in conflict with my employees. I don't got any trouble doing that with clients.
Yeah, sure.
Because you're looking at that from more professional perspective way, like you know what you're talking about, you're talking about the product, you're talking about something you really know. So that's a whole lot easier to go in conversation or conflict with the clients. Conflict not always used in a negative way, but
Yeah.
so
Important to know.
yeah, it's not always the negative conflicts, it's like having a discussion, for example. Same thing is addressing the employee about something he did wrong, but thing is you have to do that in a positive way with the frustrations they have at work. That's a really hard thing. So usually or especially in the beginning, I did have some problems with that because I didn't really dare to do it, to say it like that. You're new, you're brand new to the thing. To be honest, I'm also still quite a bit young to do it, and you do have a lot of people working there a bit older than you, a bit longer with the company. So that's going better and better. So to give, for example, or to give you an example, I had one of my employees moment that they're doing the steward job as well. So they're helping you outside at the machines, helping you to buy the ticket, giving you the information you need to go on your travels. So she was talking to a person, but the person came too close into her personal space. So the customer was coming too close in her personal space. So she backed off, and she asked the customer to get out of her personal space. You can do that. If you do that in a polite way, you can do that. But in the meantime, the employee started doing signs to the people or to the other employees. So I was just standing outside. So she started sending signs to me about the customer that was in her personal space. She was actually with the sign. She was being pretty rude. So I immediately came between the two, took the customer away, helped the customer how he should be helped. So I stayed polite. I gave him all the information he needed. I feel he was getting mad at the moment he was talking with her, because she was sending me the signs that the customer was being way too close in her personal space, that he was being crazy, things like that. She was really being
more physical, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So by taking the customer away, staying calm, polite, everything, the customer went away with the feeling he had been helped. So he was pretty happy with that. Afterwards, I went to see her to tell her that it's okay to ask a person in a polite way to stay out of your personal space, but you don't need to use the signs for that. And you especially don't make any signs to your colleagues about that, because the signs made the person feel that he was being aggressive towards the employee, but this was not the case. So getting that
just
feeling,
got it in a negative way.
Yeah. So getting that feeling, he started to be aggressive, which is a normal way to handle that situation, to be honest. If you're a client and they're doing signs about you, that you're being crazy, that you're being too close in personal space, that you're being aggressive, it makes you aggressive because you're not doing that. So I explained her as well. She got that in a good way. because she said like, yeah, but he was in my personal space. I said, yeah, but you can ask it in a polite way without using the signs.
The signs, yeah, definitely. Thank you. That was
So
pretty.
that's one of my biggest achievements for the moment, I think. So
Yeah.
I'm really getting more and more comfort within the work I'm doing, to be honest. So
Yeah. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Yeah.
For me, I have a little bit of a different question.
Yeah.
It's would be. Give me 1 second, because it's two questions actually, but eventually they can be combined into one. Is that, would you consider that the company is modern in its marketing approach towards customers? For example, are you still using the TV and commercials on TV to approach your customers? Would you consider it to be still effective or not? So which is modern, which is not?
So talking about the TV, in my opinion, it's not the best way anymore to make commercials. Like I do think we all know it. You've got Netflix now, you've got YouTube, you've got, for example, Popcorn Time. You've got all ways to get around the commercials. So no, I wouldn't use TV anymore to do it. You can do it for the older generation, to say it like that, because we're also having an older generation or an older public with the seniors, for example. So you could still use it for the seniors, but to get a hold of the youth customers you have or the youth public is to use the internet and mouth to mouth.
So it tries to keep itself up to date with actually today's needs and ways of communicating.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's how you do see it in, yeah, I've seen the company grow I've been working there 6 years, and you do see that everything which is commercial has been grown, and advertising has grown up to the past. So
Okay. Yeah, I'm writing down a question for later. Thank you.
no, that's okay.
Right. So I want to ask, like, maybe it's kind of too personal, but what has been your biggest disappointment with a prospect or a client, just in general?
Yeah, indeed, to talk about it in general is not one client, but you've got situations, and I do believe it's not only in our company, but communication is still one of the biggest flaws in the company. I wouldn't really say flaws because we're really working on it. But you've got situations, especially like when you don't see the situation coming, is that whenever it happens and something big happens, is there is not a lot of communications around it, because we're working with different branches, so everyone is doing their job but not communicating with each other. Which means, like, for example, there is not a big strike, but something happened on a big line, so trains got cancelled and everything. A fire, for example, in one of the electricity cases. That's something you cannot see happen. So everyone is starting to do their job, which is perfectly fine, but there's no communication between the branches, which leaves you to a customer, or to help a customer without the information you need to give the customer, for example. And that's one of the biggest disappointments for me, is to not give the information to the client he needs to have.
Oh, so
It's something you're standing a bit, you're powerless in that situation. And that's the thing that leaves me with the biggest disappointment.
I understand, because what I think is like one of the most important things for the company is like having good bond with the customer, having like good communication. If it's that not possible, yeah, it's probably a really big disappointment.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because you want to help the customer, but you're standing there really powerless, and you cannot really help him. You can give him like the small information, like You have to look on the screens because they're putting the trains, because then normally you have the screens where all the trains are indicated. In a case like that, where, for example, no train is running within Brussels due to a fire, they do cancel all the trains from the screen and they put on the trains that are going to ride. But you don't know which train is going to leave first. You don't know on which train they're working to go first. So you cannot give the information to the client. All you can ask him is to serve him in a polite way and ask him to check the screens for the next train coming up. But that's not really an information you would like to give to your client, because your client wants to know at what time he's going to be home, how much time it's gonna take, but you're not informed on that.
Okay. See. Well, that's it. I will give it to Pasol, I guess.
No, actually, sorry for interrupting real quick. Just for the sake of time, we'll be rounding it up as soon as possible. If you want, you can do another question. But we promised like between 20 to 30 minutes. It's been a very interesting half an hour already.
Yeah.
We'll just make sure to finish it up then.
Seriously?
Yes.
So, as I said, it's very interesting. It's a lot of good questions. So we'll just make sure to finish it up real quick, and then finish it off maybe with a piece of advice you could give us as aspiring marketeers, or just international business students. What could you give us as advice to make sure we make our communication towards our clients effective? But I'll repeat the question after.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay. Anyone else wants to ask something else before we maybe conclude, or?
No.
Joseph, I saw you like with a face of.
I think we already got the time. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think
yeah.
like summarizing everything and having the information of all the questions, the answers, it's been a quite complete session, quite complete interview.
Yeah, I personally feel satisfied with it. I'm
pretty. Yeah, I was pretty cool though, to be
Okay.
honest. Yeah.
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 Thank you. I did my best, like not being in the branch of marketing. You're working in that branch, but you're not directly working or not
Involved
directly
in
it.
marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm more of a sales advisor, so I'm more of in my branch helping the people, etc. But you do need to keep in mind you're busy with marketing. You're busy with giving the client the needs you're an important factor in the company for the marketing, because the job you're doing is everything they're asking. Actually, they're asking the things to the people, they're advertising, and you're giving the first or you're the first ones the people see from the company. So the company is doing the marketing, the people, for them, you are the company, you are the advertising, you are the market, to say it like that. So the most important for us is that the client is received as the company wants.
Yeah.
And to come back on the communication, the question you asked, Christian,
I kind of feel you already answered.
In a dire situation like that, it's not always important to have, because it's impossible to always have all the information. It's to make sure that your client is at ease. And that's actually the most important thing in communication, is to make sure that your client is at ease, that your client is satisfied with the information you're giving him without having all the information, which has different factors like being polite to your client, treat your client with respect, see that your client, or that you're as calm as possible, to make sure that your client, so once you're as calm as possible, your client is at ease as well, and he's never gonna attack you for not having the information. You do explain the situation, and you do explain why you don't have the communication. If there's a fire like that, you explain like they're working on the fire. The problem is there are certain lines that has been touched. We don't have the electricity. They're working on that. And we can use 1 or 2 lines because there's electricity. So a train is coming one by one. That's why we don't have the information to give you which train is running. We do receive the information at the time you're receiving the information. and the people putting the information on the screens, they put it on the screens by the time they have the information. So which means you're informed immediately together with us here at the desk. So we'll have to ask you to wait patiently. So most important is that your client is at peace for me.
Okay. Well, all right. Thank you very much, Lawrence, Ms. Serrano, for your time, first of all, also for cooperating with us. As I said before, this is a video that will be confidential. It won't be exposed to public, but it's just for the sole purpose of this task. So once again, thank you very much, everybody too that was present.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Thank you for choosing me.
Not a problem. Thank you.